Hello, my name is Carrington Bennett and I am a student at SMU and I am one of Dr. Voth's students in his Rhetoric of Genocide class. So today I'm going to be talking about one of the assignments that we're doing, and so basically we are creating a research paper about ethnoviolence. So I chose the topic of lynchings and bombings in Dallas, Texas during the Jim Crow era. And I chose this because I am a resident of Dallas and I believe that the history and the heritage of Dallas is very important, especially when it's talking about the struggles of my ancestors. So the first part of this research concerns a man named Terry Baker, who was one of Dallas Police Sheriff Department. He was a former chief deputy, and so after he retired, he began his research. So he put together a book called Lynchings and Hangings in Dallas County, Texas, from 1853 to 1910. He had 17 years worth of research that was infiltrated on black men, a black female, and white males. So altogether, he found that there were 28 in total individuals that was lynched or hung in Dallas, Texas from 1853 to 1910. So the first thing that he did was he distinguished the difference between lynching and a hanging. Lynchings involve a mob, and this was unlawful. This was not permitted by the state or local officials. So a hanging was actually a method of execution by the state after a guilty verdict. Maybe a bag would be placed over their head and the victim maybe fall through a trap. The first person I use in my essay is Jane Elkins. She was the only female who was documented in that time. She was a slave and she was hung after being convicted of murdering her white slave master. And so it was reported that her white slave master had actually raped her, and that's why she murdered him with an axe. So she was indicted by a grand jury on May 10th, 1853, and she was hanged on May 17th, 1853. So this next person was executed through a lynching. On March 3rd, 1910, Allen Brooks was pushed outside of a Dallas County court, which is now known as the Old Red Museum. So 5,000 people attended the lynching. It was reported that children collected pieces of his clothing and they used it as souvenirs off of his mutilated body. So the following individuals were two white males, Walter Stevenson and Leonard Dodd. They were hanged on May 24, 1918 at the new Dallas County Jail for criminal assault. And there was a crowd of 1,500 people who gathered to attend on the courthouse lawn to hear the verdict. And so I also discussed bombings that happened in Dallas County. The reason why I added this because these were all methods used to terrorize black people who were migrating to Dallas, Texas. It was reported that by 1859, the population of Negro slaves grew. It had increased since 1850. 1 out of every 10 person in the county being black. And the segments of the white community in Dallas carried out a terrorist bombing campaign targeting the homes of black people moving into formerly owned white home. During this time, the Dallas Police Department didn't do anything to respond or protect the lives of black people during this time. I am doing this research because I believe the legacy of racial terror and lynching in America is a subject all too familiar to the system of mass incarceration, the death penalty, disproportionate sentencing of racial minorities, and police abuse of people of color in the United States. I believe that in order to overcome racial injustice, we must confront our history. As Brian Stevenson from the Equal Justice Initiative said, I don't believe that learning everything about our history or bringing up our past makes things worse. I actually think that if we review our past and make sure that we're on the right side of history, that way that we can move forward. Racial reconciliation in this country and racial progress and how we can move forward together as a people, humanity. Thank you for watching.